Hello, this is Dr. Jason Munsell. It is almost noon, Wednesday, July 26th. Hope that you are having a delightful day. I was going to cover a little bit of Chapter 7, even though I know I'm a little bit behind. Say a few things about that forum, that new Form 6 that I put up yesterday, but it's for today. And then I want to say a little bit about the upcoming Big Third assignment, which part of that is going to be talking a little bit about the chapter on media portrayal of health, which is chapter 11. We're sort of skipping around a little bit. And this lecture, such as it is, going to be sort of all over the place, so just bear with me. So some stuff. By the way, this chapter 7, chapter 6 was about sort of diversity, obviously, blah, blah, blah. When we go into sort of this larger idea of culture, it's just people see the world in different ways. So it's a slightly sort of a different take. So, yeah, I feel sick. Yeah, I don't. I feel fine because of Hardee's. I splurged today. Got a Diet Coke. I usually get iced tea because I know Diet Coke is horrible, but it's tasty. Yeah. So, same themes for different strokes for different folks. What you talking about, Willis? But here we're contextualizing that theme in and through thoughts and perceptions about healthcare. So the big point, so it's beyond, in other words, the socioeconomic, gender, and stuff like that. The big point, most healthcare providers are really quite ethnocentric. And ethnocentric simply means that, we tend to, and sometimes it's unconscious, we tend to see the world the way that we were sort of brought up, right? And we think, sort of unconsciously or not, that our way is the best way. So American exceptionalism and all that type of stuff. And all of us sort of do that. That's why we, when we see other cultures doing funky things, we think they're funky because it's not us. I mean, if you ever watch Andrew Zimmern, Bizarre Foods, they're bizarre because we're ethnocentric. If we grew up our entire lives eating bugs, then we'd see somebody over here eating a hot dog and go, that's nasty. What the hell is that? Why don't you just get yourself a cockroach or something? Roach with a rotel. Not roach, rotel. Okay. So we oftentimes assume that there are the same strokes for different folks. That everybody sort of sees, everybody loves hot dogs. That's not the case. Or everybody loves bugs. Or if you're Andrew Zimmern, he basically loves to eat, testicles and stuff like that from, random animals and fish things. Okay, so fighting ethnocentrism is really what this chapter is about, even though that's very hard, because oftentimes we're not aware of our ethnocentric ways. And again, we're all like this. I am very ethnocentric. I grew up in the United States, in this biomedical world in which we live, or this culture. So when I'm feeling bad, what is the first thing that I do? I want drugs. I don't do a dance, or I don't, whatever. I go to CVS and buy stuff. If I have tummy woes, I get the Pepto-Bismol. That's what I do. That in itself is sort of ethnocentric, right? Okay, need drugs. Drugs are good. Just say no. Whenever those old commercials came on, this is your brain, and this is your brain on drugs, and they put it like the eggs in the frying pan. I was like, eggs. Okay, some key ideas. Culture. Culture again is just this. It's this big idea of belief systems and how we see the world. Rules, practices that are shared by a particular group, certain norms within a culture, and it shapes absolutely everything. So everything that we think is normal, good, all this type of stuff comes from our culture. Gender roles, why we think, things are always changing, right? Everything is flexible and everything is dynamic, but still. Bugs, the key phrase is bugs. Ethnocentrism again is that attitude, but I think it's more sort of insidious than that's the right word. That one culture, our own culture, is better than others. The way we do things is awesome. Those crazy folks in North Carolina. So the idea is that we, as effective world citizens, and to be effective communicators as patients or providers, caregivers, what have you, we need to have cultural competence. And that simply means that we need to appreciate and understand that people see the world in vastly different ways. And we need to enact, I would argue, Fuller's reflective negotiation model. This is on page 155, and I think perhaps it's the most important thing, or big picture thing in this chapter. The reflective negotiation model involves two enacted commitments and an end goal. The commitments involve sensitivity to cultural differences and to self-awareness. So you're sensitive to other people and where they're coming from, but also sort of understanding why it is that you come from this place. The goal is that together these will foster a collaborative space for negotiation in which patients and professionals can respectfully exchange ideas without feeling constrained by status or cultural differences. I circled this sensitivity thing because I think it's important, and there's so much other stuff in here, but it's not like, when I teach intercultural communication, I say this as well. You have to understand some big picture stuff and have some basic communication skills generally, because it's impossible to learn the customs and the beliefs or whatever of every culture out there. You can't do that. And so what it says is healthcare professionals cannot know the ins and outs of every culture with which they come in contact. For another, well, this is why, general cultural competence is helpful. Knowledge is helpful, but insufficient. It's bigger than that. People operate within complex webs of cultural significance. Remember the intersectionality. It's not like, oh, you come from this culture, therefore you automatically think this or that. And it's impossible to know which of them are more salient in particular situations. So, for instance, is it more germane that a patient is female or that she is Himalayan? Does it matter more that she is a CEO now or that she grew up in a low-income housing project? It's impossible to say. And then people differ, as I just said. Long story short, I'll let you read that, but we need to take a step back and sort of appreciate people are coming from different places. My own perspectives have been learned through my culture, so I got to be cognizant of all that jazz. Now, the book has all these cultural different conceptions of health. Health is organic, health is harmonic balance, hot and cold, energy, karma, chameleon, yin, yang, the chi, I like cheese. Okay. But I'll let you, making sense, I'll let you read a lot of that stuff. But generally speaking, a lot of research out there, and this is probably problematic, but sort of puts everything into two camps. The dualistic worldview and the holistic worldview. You remember from Cartesian duality and the holistic, which this holistic is slightly different, I would say, than the holistic we talked about previously on the whole. So dualistic sees separation between mind and body. We usually think all this is a Western way of thinking for the most part. So within this context, we basically, again, heal the body, the physical stuff, drugs to heal this, or surgery to cut this out. Holistic folks, often Eastern cultures, but not always, right? Don't see this separation and thus heal mind, body, spirit. That's why we have all these alternative ways of dealing with all the harmonic balance ideas. Germ theory. I like germs. I'll let you read that stuff. But the thing is, these are vastly different ways of looking at the very idea of health and illness and everything like that. And that's important to understand. More worldview stuff. There is some stuff, and this is sort of our book mentions this. Where is it? Talk about Mike and the Mechanics, someplace in here. I'll let you find it. But we tend to have, I mean, again, if you're thinking about two camps here, dualistic and holistic, we also tend to think of mechanistic and non-mechanistic. That is, mechanistic, machine-like. Body is machine, very Western, right? Tends to privilege reason over intuition, objectivity over subjectivity, science over religion. So we got to figure out what's wrong with us and heal ourselves through science. Whereas non-mechanistic, much more Eastern, means that science isn't as privileged, and folks heal through different means: faith, magic, prayer. Of course, we all this is sort of mixed up here and there, but so it's just a vastly different way of thinking about things. Yet again, when people talk about belief systems, oftentimes research out there indicates that there are scientific biomedical systems of thought. Already sort of talked about that. Again, the Schoolhouse Rock stuff, body as machine, Western perspective, science, science, science. Then we have what some people call magico-religious systems. So we think of health in and through supernatural forces. Oftentimes, folks will think if they get an illness, it's God's will. So oftentimes, folks will try to heal through magic or religion. And here's the thing: is that any better than science? I mean, a lot of folks will go, "Oh, these New Age people, they're taking their herbs." But as Western medicine oftentimes catches up with Eastern, we learn that some of that stuff ain't so bad, right? Because a lot of the other stuff impacts our brain, how we think about things, the impact. It's all not that, if I went and got some tests done during a physical and found out that something funky was going on, if I was diagnosed with cancer, it's not like I would not, I would do the Western thing, right? Surgery or chemo or whatever. But we also have to appreciate that there's other ways of seeing the world. And then the holistic system is like the above, but basically a balance, which, again, this is something I think the book is sort of promoting, that we need to sort of think about all the options. A little bit of science, a little bit of magic and religion, a little bit of a knife, a little bit of prayer. Put it all together, and you got health. Okay, why am I sick? Different perspectives again. Scientific biomedical, you're sick because something ain't right. You're abnormal. Normal. If your blood pressure is not in this range, it is low or high or low. If your temperature is here, it's abnormal. If